Hello everyone, welcome. So today I want to take my model that we made of our lightsaber and prepare it to 3D print. And the way I'm going to do that is, firstly, save it as a new file. So you should have a file for your rendered version, a file, and then you're going to make a file for your 3D printed version. So the rendered version, of course, has all your layers all set up properly. And then you've got your 3D print version. So let's go ahead and go back to our shaded view. And you can see up here, 3D printing is the name of the file. So if everything's geometrically proper, and if I look inside of here, all of these objects should be solid and the surfaces should line up, then I should be able to Boolean union the whole thing together. So select the whole thing and just type Boolean union, and hopefully your model does a Boolean union, and you should see all the layers kind of combine into one. And then we've got our object. Okay, so if I hit delete, you can see there's nothing there. I also want to actually cut this thing up a bit so that it is a nice and flat piece. So let's go ahead and start from the top view. I'm going to divide it in half. So I'm just going to draw a line, and I can do it from 0, enter, and then straight out because I've drawn this on my y-axis. So now I'll move this a little bit like that. And then from the top view, I can split this using that curve. Split this using that curve, enter. So now these are two separate objects. I can open it up and have a look at it, go back to perspective. You can see, looks good. I do have an extra piece of geometry inside of there that I don't think I want or need. So I'm actually going to go ahead and explode this. I think I had a cylinder in here that I didn't need. Explode this and just delete these. That I don't believe will affect anything for my object because it looks nice and solid and hollow on the inside. If I switch to rendered view, looks pretty good. All right, and then I'll switch back to shaded. And I should be able to join all this back together again because they're all edge-to-edge geometry. So just join and join. Delete that curve. And then I should be able to cap it. Cap and cap. Perfect. So I've got it divided those two directions. The next step is, this is actually going to be a longer object. It probably won't fit on my build plate just as is, so I'll need to cut it up a little bit more. So what I'm going to do next is actually go to the top view again, and then just draw a line somewhere, maybe like right in kind of the middle, but an area that won't be so noticeable. And then split both of these objects with this line. Enter. Okay, so now I've got this and this and this. I got 4 pieces. I can delete this, and then I can cap it because I've got just one edge on these that are not closed. So I should be able to just cap, 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 and cap. The next thing I want to do is actually create some pegs that we're going to put into this thing and subtract out or Boolean difference out so that we have keyholes to line up. And what I use is these pegs that you can get from Amazon that are 1/4 inches by 2 inches. Make a little cylinder that's a little bit bigger than it, and use that cylinder to subtract out. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to type cylinder. And the size of the cylinder that I'm going to do is going to be 0.2 7 diameter, but it's inches. So you got to put quote because I'm in the metric system on this one. Enter. And then I'm going to do 2.1 inches. And that gives me a flat topped object, which because I'm going to lay these flat, I want to have it rounded so that it's a little easier to 3D print and it won't build support on top of my going up the middle of it. So let's go ahead and do a sphere. And I'm going to go from the center to the end point here. And then I'm actually going to just pull this sphere a little bit more because the egg-shaped object will actually work better. So do that. And then I'm going to copy this egg-shaped down to here. And let's Boolean union this together. All right, so that is going to be the peg that we're going to use. Rotate it into position, line it up with your object, and then you're just going to make sure that it's not like overlapping. You see how this is overlapping? That's not good. So I'm going to switch to a top view, and I'm going to look at it in X-ray here. I'm actually going to move it onto this other layer here, change object layer, so I can see it in the blue here. Okay, I see where it's lined up a little bit better. I'm looking at it in ghosted, or what am I looking at it in? X-ray, ghosted, it's even better. Okay, so now I can see it better. All right, that's about right. Kind of want it a little bit more centered. Okay, perfect. Go to a front view. Change this to ghosted as well. Let me hide these real quick. Or no, I don't need to hide them. Let me just go to a right view. Check all my views, front view. Go to X-ray here. I should be able to see all the way through. Yeah. And I might actually just pull these two, grab them both. A little bit more that way. Just, we can always cut these pegs too with like a hacksaw or something later. So it doesn't have to be perfect. All right, so get them lined up or perfectly the same size. So I can cut out like an inch of this thing, right? So once you get it lined up, you're going to copy it over multiple times. And I've actually got, I've already done that, so I don't have to do that right now. So just copy it and move them into position. And then what you'll do, oh, this one, I don't like the way that's lined up. A little too close for comfort there. Over, yeah. All right, perfect. And then what we do is Boolean difference. Select the objects to keep, you, enter. Select the objects to get rid of. And I've got delete input set at no, so they're not going to disappear. All right, Boolean operation, and then if I turn off that layer, you can see I've got beautiful little keyholes that will line up and make it super easy and also make it way more stable when I go to glue it together. So I made sure I did it even on these ones. So everything should fit together kind of like a puzzle. All right, so the next step is to rotate them and lay them flat. These are going to be easier to lay flat than maybe yours are because where you cut your model depends on the best place to cut it. And that might not be on a spot that's at a 90-degree angle because mine's a cylinder. 90-degree angle is not a problem. So the best way to kind of deal with that is actually just to export them one at a time. So when you bring them into the slicer software, you can use the lay flat tool. So export these one at a time. I don't really need to, but because I know I'm flat here, and just create a file for it and use 0.01's fine. Okay. And then do the same. This one, export, save, okay. And oh yeah, you do need to make sure you're in the metric system, right? So of course we had to go up to our properties here, and I've already changed mine to millimeters, but you need to make sure you remember to do that, okay. So change it to millimeters, and once you change it to millimeters, if you are in inches, it will say, do you want to scale it up by a factor of 25.4? You say yes to that, okay. So once you get those, the next step is to open up Cura. And You should have all your settings set up the way I do. And if you don't, follow the video on my page that has Yoda setting up for Axiom for Cura. I believe quick access. I should be able to find it. I'm going to bring in both of these right now. And you can bring in both of them. And what you want to see is the blue, right? So that blue right there is an indicator that it's laying flat on the build plate. If you see red or anything like that, that means it's not laying on the build plate. That means you cannot 3D print it. That is the number one thing that we have problems with in the print lab is people having not laying their objects flat, especially if they're printing more than one. You exported it as separate STLs, so you can then go to rotate, and then you just chose the lay flat, and it should lay your objects flat. So very easy to do to make sure that they're flat. So once that's done, all your settings should be set up very correctly, and then you hit slice. Tells you how long, you can preview it, and I always preview, just kind of make sure that the infill is good enough. Looks good to me, all looks good. Another infill pattern that I've been using recently, just as a kind of a quick aside here, is instead of using grid, I've been using cubic. Kind of a cool deal here. So I don't remember what the timing was there, but I think it's a little bit faster, yeah, by like 20 minutes. But it's a little bit better pattern for the infill, makes for more durable parts. Okay. Perfect. So once that's done, save to disk, and you are ready to rock. So that's it for prepping. Thank you.